There are major red flags surfacing about the pretext for the latest United States attacks in Iran, that pretext being that an Iranian Shahed drone struck an Apache helicopter that was flying low over the Strait of Hormuz, that the two pilots of the Apache helicopter managed to make this miraculous kind of crash landing into the Strait of Hormuz, and then a unmanned submersive vessel rescued these two pilots from the Apache, and they were relatively unharmed, and it was this incredible miracle. Kind of reminds you and me a little bit of that F-15 story that they told, where these pilots were hit from the F-15, and then we sent in hundreds of special forces near Isfahan, which was nowhere near where the F-15 was struck, and then all these special forces managed to save the two pilots. And I'm going to just raise these red flags as it relates to the Apache crash, and I just want to use science and facts and data. You can judge for yourself. I don't want to go down any conspiratorial rabbit hole. I just want to use the undisputed facts. So the main undisputed fact is that the purported downing of an Apache by an Iranian Shahed drone has been used as the pretext for the United States to attack Iran, not just once, but twice, in violation of the ceasefire, saying they went after an Apache helicopter that was over the Strait of Hormuz, so we have the right to retaliate. That's what CENTCOM and Trump said for both of the latest United States retaliatory strikes in the areas of Qashem and Bandar Abbas and Manab and other areas near the Strait of Hormuz. Now, you'll recall that Donald Trump previously told the Wall Street Journal, and then he said it in the Oval Office, that he won't resume any all-out war with Iran unless U.S. troops are killed or attacked. He then said it in the Oval Office, his red line, killing or attacking American troops in the area would trigger more pain, he said. And I'll show you what he said in the Oval Office in a minute. But then what did we learn this weekend? We learned, according to CENTCOM, as per CENTCOM, this is what they said. CENTCOM has confirmed that an Apache helicopter, an AH-64 Apache from the U.S. Army, went down in the Strait of Hormuz near the coast of Oman. Per the CENTCOM release, both soldiers, the pilots, were rescued within 2 hours of the helicopter going down, and rescue efforts were led by U.S. naval forces, CENTCOM, and the 82nd Airborne Division. Additional naval and Air Force units provided support. Notably, no reason is provided for the helicopter's downing originally, but then they came up with a reason, or they said they investigated the reason. Notably, they were able to investigate that quickly, still unable to give us their investigative findings regarding the mass slaughter by the United States of 168 little girls in Manab, but talk about that in a little bit as well. But then Donald Trump posts the following: I have just been informed by our great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. Now, Iran denied that it sent this Shahed drone. Iran called it a pretext, and they said, Iran said the U.S. is using a pretext of the downing of an Apache helicopter, and they said that Shahed, eventually, with Trump saying it was a Shahed drone, that's what Trump and CENTCOM said eventually, that this was an Iranian Shahed drone that brought down the U.S. Apache helicopter. Then CENTCOM said it was an intentional Shahed drone strike by Iran into this Apache, and then Iran said that we didn't do it. Okay, you're just saying that that went down as a pretext to escalate the war, as a way to try to get us to, I guess, change our negotiating framework, which is not going to work and which we're not going to do. Now, just to remind you, last week Donald Trump was asked about the reports that he would only attack Iran and escalate if Iran struck U.S. helicopters or assets or killed U.S. soldiers. Here's what Donald Trump said. Let's play this clip for you right now.
Out there military. Now, there's some missiles left, but very few compared to what they had.
And speaking of our military and Iran, I wanted to ask you about this report that you would only restart the conflict with Iran if they killed U.S. troops. Is that your red line for ending the ceasefire?
If they killed?
U.S. troops.
What does that mean?
That you would restart the war with Iran if they killed U.S. troops.
Well, it would be a good reason. I'll be honest with you. If they killed U.S. troops, I think I would do that very quickly. Yeah, that's a very interesting question.
So you may be saying, come on, Ben. Why would Trump or CENTCOM make up that an Apache helicopter was struck by a Shahed drone intentionally sent by Iran? And as I said, let me just give you the undisputed facts. And this way you can decide for yourself. Trump and CENTCOM yesterday morning put out statements to the press. They went to state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and specifically Trey Youngst, who's the reporter now who Trump gives a lot of information to. And Trump and CENTCOM gave their version of events about what they claim happened with this Apache drone. And here's how they describe it. They say the Apache drone had two pilots. It was flying low in the Strait of Hormuz when a Shahed drone struck the Apache, and it lodged itself between the two pilots. And the pilots had to very quickly make a maneuver. They were able to kind of bring the helicopter to a crash landing in the Strait of Hormuz. And they were able to get out. I guess they sprung out or jump out when it kind of had this crash landing. That the Shahed drone, which are almost always armed with explosives, did not explode. And it was lodged between the two pilots. So they had to make this miraculous maneuver. Trump and CENTCOM referred to what took place as a miracle.
True self-reliance starts with taking control of your own health. Armra Colostrum is nature's original solution. Colostrum is packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that fortify gut health and strengthen immune health to build resilience at the cellular level. Because when you invest in your health, you invest in your ability to show up, think clearly, and stay in control no matter what life throws your way. Today's environment is filled with toxins, processed foods, modern stressors, and immune disruptors. Nourish your microbiome and strengthen your barriers to support your immune health. Armra Colostrum is your secret to feeling strong, vibrant, and confident again. Not seeing results with your current routine? Colostrum is packed with 400 plus bioactive nutrients that work like a blueprint for your body, promoting your cells' natural renewal processes to support skin, hair, gut health, metabolism, immune health, lean muscle, and whole body vitality. Strengthen your gut integrity and support healthy fat metabolism to empower your body with the blueprint to revitalize health from the inside out. We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armra.com/Meidas or enter Meidas to get 30% off your first subscription order. That's armra.com/Meidas.
So just a few questions. One, where is the Apache? Do we have photos of this Apache with a Shahed drone lodged into it? That'd be kind of quite a photo. How did the Shahed lodge itself into the Apache? Shahed drones are big. An Apache is big, but not that much bigger than a Shahed drone. A Shahed drone is like the size of a Toyota Camry. Maybe even a little bigger, right? An Apache's bigger than that. I don't know. Think about an Apache as being the size of, I don't know, maybe like 2 Escalades. And a Shahed drone's like the size of a Camry. I'll give you more specifics. An Apache helicopter has a wingspan of 17 feet and a main body width of about 6 feet, according to Aero Corner. The Shahed 131 has a wingspan of 7.2 feet. And the 136 has a wingspan of 8.2 feet. So on the low end, a Shahed has a 7.2 feet wingspan. It's big. And, you know, and it's large. As I said, it's like a Camry with wings. Its base is a little bit more thin than like a Camry, which is more bulky. So how did this Shahed lodge itself? Just like, let's be objective about this. It lodged itself between the pilots. Now, believe in the Apache, the pilot sits in front of the other pilot. So if it came from the side, boom, think about the speed, right? So one helicopter is going in one direction. The Shahed is going in the other direction. You can do some basic physics, and where they hit each other, it just gets lodged there, like it just stays there. I don't know, like a dart being thrown at like a bullseye, like it just gets stuck. Wouldn't the force of a Shahed going fast and a helicopter loitering low to the water and both go fast, boom, wouldn't it just knock it over? I mean, again, just you could run a simulation to throw the speeds in of an Apache and a Shahed. It would knock it down into the water. It would probably, the mere force of it could cause an explosion, even if the Shahed explosive device didn't explode when the Shahed hit. And I mean, I don't know how you would still keep control over the helicopter, and how is it was lodged between the two, like just perfectly in the middle, and didn't hit the pilot in the back or the pilot in the front. That really doesn't make any sense. And just so you know, I'm not making up the story. Let me show you how it was described by state regime media Fox when they said that Donald Trump and CENTCOM described it to them. Let's play this clip.
I want to start with a story the president told me, new details about the downing of this U.S. Army Apache helicopter. President Trump tells Fox News that the Iranian drone lodged in between the two pilots in this helicopter. They were flying very low. And at that point, the drone didn't explode as it had intended to. And so these pilots were trying to take down the helicopter with the drone lodged into this gunship without it exploding. And at any moment, it could have exploded, the president told me. And he said it was on fire. There was a lot of heat inside the cockpit of this helicopter. And ultimately, these two pilots were able to take it down into the sea, where ultimately they were rescued for the first time in U.S. military history by an unmanned sea drone. Now, President Trump also talked about the U.S. strikes last night against Iranian radar systems and air defense sites. He said the Iranians had tried to rebuild during the ceasefire their defensive capabilities, but they were unable to stop these U.S. strikes overnight, and they were hammered by U.S. fighter jets. Now, interestingly, President Trump told me that he is getting close to ordering new strikes against Iranian power plants and bridges, because he says the Iranians are tapping the United States along when it comes to the negotiating process. He says the bully of the Middle East is dead. And he told me I may keep going when I asked him about a possible response.
So you heard it there, what they were saying. So just so you can again see, this is the size of a Shahed. This is in Ukraine. So you can see the size of a Shahed relative to 4 people, right? It's basically bigger than 4 people. Look at the 4 people there. This is an Apache. You see one pilot in front of the other. So if it got lodged right between, what do you notice that is the in-between phase? Well, one of the pilots is holding on to the, is holding on to where you fly, is hiding onto where you fly the plane. So this is what I looked like when I ran it through AI, and I just said, okay, show me what it would look like with the Shahed drone going, and I gave all the inputs. This is what it said it looked like. Now, mind you, in Trump's telling of events, both of the pilots are fine. No one is injured. The Shahed just goes right in the middle, and the pilots are able to kind of land the thing in the Strait of Hormuz and get out uninjured. And then when you think about all of the lies that CENTCOM have been saying, it all adds up. I want to note this as well. The Apache AH-64 also, to me, has an interesting link to Admiral Brad Cooper, who's the commander of CENTCOM. Notice this post from May 4th, 2026. He flies Apaches. That's what he did. Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM, flew over regional waters in and near the Strait of Hormuz in an AH-64 Apache helicopter May 3rd on the eve of U.S. military support for Project Freedom. He interacted with, that's what he did. He's an Apache helicopter pilot before climbing the ranks. He knows how to fly the Apache. So if you start thinking about, strange, he did an Apache story, How would you arrange this Apache story? I mean, again, maybe the Apache pilot, and I'll talk more about Brad Cooper in just a moment. Now, just to remind you, this is the message that CENTCOM posted June 9th, and they posted similar one June 10th. CENTCOM forces began launching self-defense strikes against Iran at the commander-in-chief's direction in response to the downing of an U.S. Army Apache helicopter. This mission is a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. And now we know CENTCOM lies about everything now. And sadly, Admiral Brad Cooper, who's supposed to be someone who's nonpartisan, has become like a MAGA clown. I hate to say that. But by the way, top-level military folks who I know tell me that about Cooper, that's what they think about him now. Like they're humiliated by his behavior. So here's what CENTCOM posted last night. Claim. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claims the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Truth. Commercial ships are continuing to transit in and out of the Strait of Hormuz tonight. They're not. Commercial ships aren't transiting out of the Strait of Hormuz. Or do you remember back, 2 weeks ago at this point, where they talked about in response to the Israeli strikes and Iran then retaliated against Kuwait and hit the Kuwaiti airport, remember? An additional wave of Iranian drones attempted to attack U.S. forces in Kuwait, failed to impact its intended targets. U.S. Central Command Air Defenses successfully downed multiple drones and ensured no American personnel or assets were harmed. And you take a look right here at what the Kuwaiti airport looked like, and the Kuwaiti airport was clearly hit. I mean, and of course, Donald Trump lies about everything. Last night, Donald Trump created a fictitious scenario where he called up the Iranians and he said the Iranians were talking to him and that they were going to want to do a deal. And he spoke with the Iranians. Remember what Donald Trump said? I'll play this for you. Let's play it.
The country close to the Persian Gulf. This is all taking place as the Iranians are trying to get the United States to stop the bombing campaign. President Trump told me that Iran called him tonight. Top Iranian officials and President Trump spoke directly, according to the commander-in-chief tonight, as the president was sitting in the Situation Room. And he told me that the Iranians asked them to stop bombing. And the president said to me, the bombing will stop shortly.
Right. So everything is a lie that comes from them. So these lying liars who lie, surprise, surprise, seem like they're lying. But I'll leave it to you. Just go through the data for yourself. And you tell me if you think those are major. I did a major red flags. I did a video about the F-15E pilots who crashed far away from Isfahan, but then the mission was in Isfahan, right by the nuclear facility. That seemed to be a failed Isfahan nuclear, invasion, attack by the U.S. during the early stages and early days of the war, or in the heart of it. Let's think for ourselves. Let's use data. You could agree with me or disagree with me. Tell me how you feel in the comments. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.